There's a very specific, a very painful kind of regret that I think is unique to the modern world.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
I'm not talking about buyer's remorse over, like, a pair of expensive shoes that pinch your toes.
Or a bad hair.
Or a bad haircut, exactly.
Huh.
I'm talking about the big one, the 30-year mortgage kind of regret.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one where you realize about 3 months in that you've made a terrible, terrible mistake.
Yes. You buy the house, the kitchen is perfect, the light in the living room is divine, the price was actually negotiable.
A miracle.
But then you're living there for a few weeks and you realize you absolutely hate the context.
Right.
You bought the perfect structure, but you bought it in the wrong neighborhood.
It's the classic real estate trap. You fell in love with the granite countertops and the south-facing windows, the bricks and mortar, right?
Right.
But you completely ignored the fact that the nearest quart of milk is a 15-minute drive away.
Or that the street becomes a drag racing strip at 11 p.m. on Tuesdays. It's that massive disconnect. And that right there brings us to today's deep dive. We are looking at a platform that claims to have solved this. We're digging into Wikiresidence.ca and specifically their huge 2026 update.
And to be clear, this isn't just us reviewing a website. We're looking at this because the source material we have suggests a fundamental shift in how we should be thinking about urban living.
A shift from what to what?
They're trying to move the whole conversation from transactional, just buying and selling assets, to holistic.
Holistic is a word that usually makes me nervous. It can mean vague or just vibes-based.
I know, I get that. But looking at their documentation, they seem to be using it to mean data-heavy.
Extremely data.
Yeah, we're looking at the integration of urban planning docs, transport networks, lifestyle metrics, everything, all into one decision-making tool.
So our mission today is to really unpack this ecosystem. We're going to look at their districts breakdown, which is a fascinating way to remap a city. We'll get into their library of urban analysis, and we'll see if this whole dating app approach to finding a home actually holds water.
Let's dive in.
Okay, so I want to start with the philosophy. The source material leads really heavily with this concept of a user-centric approach.
Right.
Now, play the skeptic for a second. Every app on my phone claims to be user-centric. Usually that just means it has dark mode. What makes this different?
Well, look at the traditional model.
Mm-hmm.
A standard real estate site is inventory-centric. The database is king. You filter by what exists.
3 bedrooms, 2 baths, under $800K.
Exactly. You're trying to mold your needs to fit the available stock.
I'm looking for a needle in a haystack, but I'm only allowed to describe the hay.
Perfect analogy. Wikiresidence flips that script.
Yeah.
The 2026 update docs show they start with an interrogation of the user, not the database. They ask questions that have nothing to do with architecture. Do you prefer a cultural lifestyle or a sporty one? Do you have parents who need care? Do you walk, cycle, or drive?
I was really struck by how prominent the pet question was. Do you have pets? It's right there at the top.
It seems trivial, but it's actually a primary filter for livability. If you have a Great Dane, a condo with a strict 20-pound limit is, well, it's effectively a prison.
Doesn't matter how nice the kitchen is.
Not at all. Or if you have an elderly dog, a 4th-floor walk-up is an absolute deal-breaker.
So they're trying to profile the human before they show the house. It really is like a dating app. They want to know your baggage before they set you up.
That's a very fair analogy. The founders, Elaine and Jean Chiguer, and they've been at this since 2008, they seem to get that a property is a financial asset, but a home is a living environment.
And the 2026 update seems to scale that idea way up.
It does. It's no longer just 2 brokers. The sources list this massive ecosystem of collaborators, notaries, inspectors, financial advisors.
Yeah, there's something called BIM.
Yes, BIM.
Yeah, I saw this in the tech specs. It's listed as an AI agent in training. Are we talking about a chatbot that just regurgitates the FAQ page? Because I have enough of those in my life.
The documentation suggests something a bit more ambitious. BIM stands for Broker Intelligence Model, or at least that's the implication. It's being trained to handle conversational nuance.
Oh, so instead of typing 2 bed, 1 bath, I might eventually say.
You might say, look, I need to be near the super hospital for my shift work, but I also need a quiet street for my kids.
That's a complex query. That requires understanding trade-offs.
Which is the hardest part of building a home. It's moving the search from a database query to a real consultation.
And that fits with their stated goal, right? To serve a broader community. Not just people buying in Montreal, but people living in Montreal.
Precisely. It's a clever retention strategy. If you help someone find a good park today, they'll trust you to sell their house in 5 years.
Okay, let's move from the abstract to the concrete. Or the asphalt, I guess. Segment 2, the districts feature. This is the core of the update. They've mapped out 42 territories.
But look at how they define a territory. This is where the urban planning nerd in me gets really excited.
It's not just the official borough lines, is it? It's not just Le Plateau because the mayor drew a line there.
No, not at all. They explicitly say neighborhoods are defined by connectivity. They list the STM METRO, the REM, the EXO trains as defining boundaries.
So they're pulling in places like Chomedy-Laval, Longueuil, Brossard into the same ecosystem as downtown.
Yes, which is a big psychological shift. Usually if you live on the island, the South Shore feels like another planet.
You pack a lunch if you're going there.
Right, but the data doesn't support that anymore. If you're near a REM station in Brossard, your commute to downtown can be shorter than from some parts of the actual island.
So your neighborhood is defined by your time distance, not your zip code.
That's it. And for these 42 districts, they have this evaluation system, the 8 pillars of analysis.
Is this just a fancy way of giving it a star rating?
I'd call it more of a risk assessment framework. Think of it like a due diligence checklist, and the order is really telling.
Okay, lay it on me.
First is living environment and nature, parks, waterfronts, noise levels.
Makes sense.
Second is accessibility and transport. So not just is there a bus, but how are the bike paths, highway access.
Okay, standard stuff so far.
Third, outreach services. That's shopping, groceries, daily stuff. Fourth is family and education. Fifth is health hospitals and CLSCs.
CLSCs, the local community service centers here. That's huge if you have kids or aging parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sixth is community libraries, culture. Seventh is security, police, fire. And only at number 8 do we get to real estate and architecture.
Wow. The actual buildings are the last pillar.
Because you can change a building. You can renovate a kitchen. You cannot build a hospital next door or force a metro station to open. The first 7 pillars are the unchangeables.
And if you get those wrong, you're stuck.
Exactly. And they have that key services feature, which is basically the visualization of all this on a Google map for each territory. It lets you trace
The daily friction.
the daily friction of your routine. Can I drop the kids off,
Wow.
walk to the metro, and grab groceries on the way back without crossing a 6-lane highway? That's what it's all about.
I want to test this. Let's do a case study. We have the source material for their analysis of downtown. Now, everyone thinks they know downtown. Skyscrapers, construction cones.
Don't forget the noise.
And noise, of course. But the Wikiresidence profile paints a much more nuanced picture. The vibe is connected, dense, and resolutely cosmopolitan.
What stood out to me was the architectural analysis, the mashup of glass skyscrapers next to Victorian buildings. But they go deeper into the real livability specs.
Like what? What specifically caught your eye?
The grocery list. It sounds silly, but hear me out.
Okay.
The source material explicitly lists Adonis for Mediterranean products, the IGA in Complex Desjardins, and Avril for organic food.
Why does that one detail matter so much to you?
Because the biggest fear about living downtown is that it's a food desert.
Right, that you'll be living on fast food and corner store snacks.
Exactly. By listing specific high-quality grocery options where you can get fresh olives, they are answering a very specific objection. They're saying, yes, you can cook a real dinner here, you can live a normal life.
That's a great point. It grounds the domestic experience. And speaking of domestic experience, we have to talk about the dog parks.
Oh, here we go.
This was my absolute favorite detail in the entire stack. They didn't just put a pin on a map. They analyzed the social dynamics of the dog parks.
They did. They compare Rutherford Dog Park versus Lucien-Allier.
Rutherford up on the reservoir near McGill is described as having spectacular views, popular with students. That's a scene. That's where you go to socialize with your golden retriever.
Versus Lucien-Allier, which they note is a rare dog space near residential towers. That is purely functional. That's the, I need to take the dog out at 6 a.m. in my pajama spot.
Knowing the difference tells you everything about what your Saturday morning looks like. That's not on a normal map.
No, only a local analyst knows that. And don't forget, the underground city, the Réseau.
The lifesaver.
30 kilometers of connecting tunnels. In most cities, an underground mall is a novelty. In Montreal, it's critical infrastructure. It changes the livability score.
Right. If you can get from your condo to the cinema to the grocery store in February without a parka...
That neighborhood is effectively 10 degrees warmer than the rest of the city.
Now, moving beyond the specific neighborhood, there's another layer to this site that I think is even more important for the long term. Segment 4, the library and urban trends.
This is where they pivot from being a listing site to being, well, analysts. The source material says that in 2025 alone, they published close to 300 articles.
300, that's almost a daily newspaper.
It's a massive amount of content, but it addresses a huge gap. Most people buy a home based on what a neighborhood looks like today.
But you're really buying the future. You're betting on the timeline.
Exactly. And to understand the future, you need to understand the master plans. The 2025 summary highlights some massive projects that are going to fundamentally redraw the map of Montreal.
Let's run through a few of these because the scale is staggering. First, Bridge Bonaventure.
A huge one. It's
Yeah.
an old industrial sector. If you drive past it now, you just see concrete and silos.
A wasteland.
But the analysis says this will be a high-density, mixed-use extension of downtown. So if you buy a condo in Griffintown now, you need to know this is coming next door.
It could mean dust and noise for years, but it could also mean your property value skyrockets.
That is actionable intelligence. Then you have Namur Hippodrome,
The old horse racing track, that space has been empty forever.
a giant void. And the numbers are mind-blowing. 20,000 new homes. But the key detail is that 50% of them are intended to be outside the speculative market.
So social or affordable housing, that completely changes the profile of the area.
It does. And they're planning it as car-free or car-light. So if you're looking nearby, you need to know that traffic patterns, retail, the whole social fabric is about to change.
Okay, then there's Nuns Island. I always think of it as finished, established, quiet.
Not according to the analyst. They point out that the arrival of the REM station has triggered a complete overhaul. The quiet island vibe is shifting toward a transit hub vibe.
That's a crucial distinction if you're moving there for peace and quiet.
And finally, Place Versailles in the East End, an iconic mall.
Legendary.
Well, it's undergoing a 25-year transformation.
25 years. That's a generation.
That is the timeline of urban planning. Wikiresidence is flagging this. Don't look at it as a mall. Look at it as a future neighborhood.
It really drives home the point that you need an analyst, not just a broker. A broker shows you the house, an analyst shows you the timeline.
Well put.
Okay, so practically speaking, how does a user interact with all this? Let's talk about the tools.
All right, this goes back to the user-centric design. They've organized the site into these thematic folders.
You can search by passion, which sounds a bit romantic.
It does, but it's practical. They have themes like waterfront living, cycling paths, and the one that really dominates is pets,
We keep coming back to the pets.
because it's a regulatory minefield. They have a whole theme on cohabitation rules, weight limits, leash laws, banned breeds.
If you own a certain type of dog in Montreal, you know navigating these rules is a nightmare. A dedicated search filter for that is a killer feature.
It saves you from falling in love with a condo only to find out your best friend isn't allowed in the elevator.
Okay, what about this IRSVP service? They call it the hallmark of excellence.
It's essentially a buyer representation service. It stands for Identification, Research, Selection, Visitation, Proposal, and it's free of charge for the buyer.
So instead of me calling 42 different agents,
You engage IRSVP. They target your needs based on that profile. They monitor the market, they organize the visits, and they help negotiate. It's a concierge service.
centralizes the logistics so you can focus on the decision.
Exactly. And finally, there's Infodrone, the daily news feed, which keeps the whole site from becoming a static encyclopedia.
It keeps the data alive. So bringing this all together, what is the synthesis here? Why should you, the listener, care about this?
I think the main takeaway is that the era of blind home buying is over. Or at least it should be. We have too much data now to make bad decisions.
We can't claim ignorance anymore.
No. This platform is creating a portal that fuses the hard data price, square footage, with the soft data, the vibe,
Yeah.
the community culture, the future construction noise,
The dog park politic.
the dog park politics. It's a shortcut to feeling like a local before you even pack a single box.
And in a world of information overload, curation is value. You don't have time to go to City Hall to read the Hippodrome permits. They've done it for you.
It empowers you to ask better questions instead of just, is the roof new? You can ask, how will the Bridge Bonaventure project affect traffic on this street in 2028?
And the answer to that question might save you a lot of sanity.
Or a lot of money.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on. This deep dive really brought this up for me. If our neighborhoods are being redrawn by things like the REM and these new eco districts, are we moving to a future where we choose our district based on our ideology, not just our commute?
That is a profound shift. If I care about sustainability, I move to the Louvain Eco District. If I care about cosmopolitan density, I choose downtown.
We're sorting ourselves not just by income, but by values.
We're finding our tribes. And tools like this are the compass.
A fascinating way to look at it. The city isn't just a map of streets anymore, it's a map of communities.
It really is.
That's all for this deep dive into wikiresidence.ca. Whether you're moving next week or just dreaming about the future of Montreal, we hope this gave you a new lens to look at the city.
Keep asking the hard questions about where you live.
We'll catch you on the next one.